Hello everyone, it's Arali and welcome back to the channel. So when I originally made my YouTube channel, I wanted to make a lot of theories, and I of course focused on End of Dragons because when I started my channel, I'd been streaming for years, but when I made my actual YouTube channel, I wanted to concentrate on End of Dragons. We had just gotten the announcement and there was a lot of different things in Cancer that I wanted to theorize about, and I did that. So we have a lot of theories out there. I'm very happy with them, and we'll see how a lot of them turn out. Some of them are probably not going to turn out, but I think a lot of them might have some merit. But I didn't want to stop there. I wanted to do other things in the lore that we can make theories on, and I recently made a video on the human gods as well as a Lore Mystery Bits episode about the Scepter of Ore. So I came up with this theory in my head about maybe the origin of the Scepter of Ore and maybe something involving Grenth and Doom as well as two of the gods. So let's get into it. So to start off, I want to talk about the Scepter of Ore. Now the Scepter of Ore is an artifact of unknown origins. We don't know when it was created. We don't know really why it was created. We don't know how they created it or who created it, but we know that it can control the dead. And that's super interesting because Zaitan, of course, being the elder dragon of death and shadow, controls the dead as well. So what if the human gods created the Scepter of Ore and maybe even the sister item there, Staff of the Mist, to counteract some of the elder dragons, specifically Zaitan? We do know that the human gods found out about the elder dragons at some point, and they found out about the spheres of influences that they had. But they also, I'm sure, realized that Zaitan was sleeping right beneath their feet, right? Because they're these, they absorb magic and stuff, the dragons, when they're sleeping. So the gods must have realized that the dragon of death and shadow was sleeping right beneath their feet. So maybe the Scepter of Ore was created to countermeasure the ability of controlling the dead. Maybe they wanted to take that control away from Zaitan with the staff. Or maybe if they had to fight Zaitan, then they could use the staff to render his power of controlling the dead useless. We don't really know how the scepter functions, so maybe that's part of the magic there. Now, to kind of take that to the next step, I want to talk about Doom. Doom was the original god of death, and we don't know that much about him, but I have a little theory here where maybe Doom created the staff specifically, and I've already kind of said this, but maybe he created it to fight Zaitan. Maybe the goal was to fight them. Maybe he was on Balthazar's side because Balthazar wanted to fight the dragons as well. Maybe Doom was kind of the first one to bring that up and say that, hey, maybe we should fight them, and Balthazar maybe eventually decided that that was a good idea. But so maybe he created the scepter and maybe the Staff of the Mist as well, which we don't know what that does. We do destroy it in Guild Wars 1, so that does not exist anymore. The scepter does still somewhere out in the world, but maybe he created them to counteract Zaitan, and maybe Grenth was not okay with that decision. Being a demigod born of Dwayna and Malcor, he had some kind of power maybe where he could challenge a god, right? That kind of gives him he's like the bridge between the humans and the gods, right? He's a demigod. So maybe he decided that he could attack Doom and make him submit to him or even take his power or something in order to stop him from creating this catastrophe, this cataclysm by fighting the dragon. So he took his 7 Reapers and he maybe even used the Scepter of Ore. That would be really interesting. Maybe he used the actual scepter to defeat Doom and lock him away in the Hall of Judgment in the underworld. And maybe he did this with the blessing of the other gods. We know that when Kormir took Abaddon's power, when she took over, she got some special gift, like this blessing from the gods that made her be able to absorb the power of a god. Maybe Grenth had received the same from the other gods in order to absorb Doom's power, and maybe the gods didn't want to fight Doom because because they didn't want to have this cataclysmic fight right above an elder dragon, thinking that maybe that would awaken the dragon and just create more destruction. We do know that they brought the humans to Tyria in order to bring them peace and bring them away from whatever conflicted world they came from. So they decided that Grenth was the best option because he could just go and maybe ambush him. I don't think the fight with Doom was like this gigantic cataclysmic battle, because Doom's last stand, as we see it in game, is not that huge of an area. And as far as we know, Grenth only went with his 7 Reapers, where if we talk about Abaddon fought the other gods with a gigantic army, and they talk about like this giant naval battle, the likes of which have never been seen before. So that leads me to believe that Doom was probably ambushed, or something that was all of a sudden decided that he didn't know was coming, and Grenth just really quickly took care of him in order to avoid having to fight the dragons, and took the place of being the god of death. So that's kind of my theory. I don't know how much merit it has, of course, or if we're ever going to talk about it. I know everyone always loves talking about the human gods, and I'd like to do more theories on it. I've done theories on Milagin and Melandru, and I could see this maybe come back as a fractal or a vision of the past. I would be really interesting to be able to play as Grenth and the 7 Reapers and defeat Doom. We already have a model for Doom, or already has plenty of maps. They could reuse a lot of that stuff, so I don't know how much work that really would be, but I think that would be really interesting to just give us more lore and give us more on the background of the like origin story of the humans and the kingdoms and stuff like that. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.